TCM, or traditional Chinese medicine, has worked for billions of people for thousands of years. And you may have tried it and then it didn't work. And you're like, well, what happened? And then you start doubting, is this real medicine? Because you heard, and history has shown that billions of people have been helped with traditional Chinese medicine, TCM. That's acupuncture, Chinese herbs, dietary, nutrition, and so forth. They're all included into TCM. You've heard of this. There's books on this, and it still doesn't work for you. Well, chances are it's not that TCM doesn't work for you. It could be the reason is your practitioner and also because of history, the history of TCM, depending on who you're getting the TCM treatments from. Now, some of this may be your practitioner's fault, and some of it your practitioner doesn't even know. That's what I'm going to go over today in this video. I'm going to go over what are the reasons, the main reason, the history of TCM could be the reason why you're not getting results. And once you understand this, then you'll be able either to communicate with your TCM practitioner, the one you're going to right now, or find another TCM practitioner that will be more focused on getting results that you want. This is part one of a two-part series on why you may not be getting results from traditional Chinese medicine. First, let's look at how TCM became standardized, what changed along the way, and why that history still matters today. So let's dive in. So you may be wondering, how can the history of TCM be the reason why you're not getting results from TCM? Because we're in at least I'm in 2026 as I'm doing this video. TCM has evolved, technology has evolved, medicine has evolved. How come the 3,000-year-old history could be the root cause why you're not getting results from TCM? Follow along and it will make sense, I promise you. So I'll list the sources where I'm getting this information from. So how traditional Chinese medicine became TCM. I'm going to be saying TCM for short, for traditional Chinese medicine. So TCM is not just acupuncture, it's not just herbs, it's a medical system that just uses the tools of acupuncture, herbs, nutrition, diet, exercise, lifestyle habits. Those all are TCM. In the US and in Western countries, people only think of acupuncture, but no, acupuncture is a small part of TCM. So the story comes from modern medical historians. So this information is not my opinion. I know I'm going to get a lot of hate from other acupuncturists here in the US and also all around the world. That's okay. I'm here to serve you, the public. I'm not here to serve them. And plus, this information that I'm going to go over is from other historians. I will let you know what is my opinion, but everything that I've prepared in these slides, they're from these books. Bridie Andrews, he wrote The Making of Modern Chinese Medicine. Sean Xiongling Lei, Neither Donkey Nor Horse, Vocal Shy, Chinese Medicine in Contemporary China, and Journal of the History of Medicine and Allied Science. This is the sources of where I'm getting all this information. So if you want to know more, you can just Google these sources. So modern TCM, yes, it's ancient in its roots. It's 3,000-year-old history, right? And today it's been modernized. But here in America, people think TCM, all acupuncturists are the same. That can be further from the truth. I don't understand why people think one acupuncturist is the same as every other acupuncturist. One TCM practitioner is the same as every other TCM practitioner, right? We all know no teacher is the same. One teacher is not the same as the next. One lawyer is not the same as the next lawyer. Doesn't matter they went to the same school and studied the same law, right? Two family physicians, they went to the same medical school, same residency, trained in the same areas, trained by the same people, are still two different physicians. One could be great, one could be terrible. So that's with every single profession. We all know that. But for some reason, many people think that one acupuncturist is the same as another. That can be further from the truth. There could be one TCM practitioner could be phenomenal in getting results, and one TCM practitioner could be crappy. So let's just get that out of the way. So TCM is not a fixed system. It's not a one fixed system passed down unchanged for thousands of years. TCM was not, oh, one person created it and everybody learns that system. No, 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 no. TCM is built up of thousands of systems. I'm going to go into the detail of that. And this will correlate to why you're not getting results. Because what if your practitioner is learning from one of the systems that doesn't get results? That's probably why you're not getting results. It's also not a medical system invented overnight by Chairman Mao. In the 1950s, I'll go over this, Chairman Mao standardized TCM. That did many benefits and it also harmed TCM. That standardization also caused why some people get great results with TCM and maybe you don't get any results. The standardization hurt you. So this is a historical reconstruction, older knowledge plus new institutions plus political negotiation. This is how TCM, current day, like when I went to TCM school and how all the TCM practitioners, at least in North America, we all went to school, we are all learning from the same books. So it has been made into one system, but it wasn't originally one system. So how is the current TCM system, how was it built? Well, it's built on some of the older knowledge, some, not all of it, new institutions like the Medical Association. Actually, the Medical Association dictated a lot of how current TCM, modern day TCM, is taught and practiced. And then political negotiation. So if you thought TCM was untainted, no. Just like Western medicine, it's tainted by politics. That's how current TCM is developed. Now, where did it come from? Like I said, TCM started in China, according to these resources. And back then, the doctors or the practitioners, some were scholarly physicians, some were herbalists, some were midwives, some were bone setters, aka today's chiropractors. Did you know chiropractic is in traditional TCM? But because of politics, we're not able to learn it and provide that service. It has nothing to do with medicine. It has to do with politics. Politics means someone's pocketbook. Someone wants to put more money in their pockets, so they're going to prevent other people from doing it. Religious leaders, okay, family remedies, regional lineages, iterant specialists, right? That was the original TCM. TCM was all over the board. It was a plural. It was not just one system. I want you to really pay attention to that. TCM traditionally was not one system. It got standardized early on, but it was consolidated in the 1950s, as we'll see right here. This is kind of the general transition of standardization of TCM that we know of it today. Again, these are based on those resources that I shared above. So in the 1850s, this was like local family specialist practice. 1890s, modernization pressure from the scientific community and also Japan, right? Japan had a huge influence on TCM in China. And then 1929, abolition threat, practitioners unite as national medicine. So Western medicine was already starting, even back then in 1929, Western medicine was already suppressing other forms of medicine. So in order for TCM to survive, the practitioners needed to get together and form a national medicine. 1949, that's when the communists take over China, new state, healthcare access becomes urgent. So at that time, there was tons of population, not enough trained Western physicians. So Chairman Mao, that's when he really promoted TCM because TCM was widely available and it was very effective. It just wasn't standardized. But by the 1950s, he made the TCM community standardized so that everybody would be taught the same thing, same books. All the universities would teach the same thing. All the hospitals would practice the same thing. There's advantages to that, and there's many disadvantages to that. So the 5 pressures. One is professional survival. They avoid legal marginalization. TCM practitioners were getting marginalized by Western medicine physicians and Western medicine institutions. So they had to get together to protect themselves. Then the government started getting involved, state administration, scientific legitimacy. This is when science research. So the TCM practitioners, in order to stay relevant, they had to translate their practice into modern research language. Translate also means they had to change the way they practice. So maybe for thousands of years, they had been doing TCM one way and it was super effective, but because they couldn't explain it in scientific terms, they changed it, which made it less effective. So again, you see how history could be a cause of why you're not getting results from TCM. Japanese influence, modern acupuncture and pharmacology models, healthcare and identity serve a large population, preserve national knowledge. So you had Western medicine system putting pressure on TCM and marginalizing. They were already discriminating against TCM practitioners. So discrimination has happened for a long time. Then you have the government, you have scientific, so-called scientists. These were all pressured to change TCM. So 1929 turned a threat into a national movement. Abolition proposed. Chinese medicine was labeled unscientific. So the practitioners united. They formed a national medicine so that they could be recognized by the government. Standardization made Chinese medicine teachable and governable, right? Because this is the good part. Because if everybody's doing their own thing, how can you govern? How can you say that someone is helping the patient and not really hurting the patient, right? That's the beauty of standardization. The learning, this is before standardization, the way that TCM practitioners learn was from family lineage or apprenticeship. But after standardization, it was in public schools and textbooks. So it made TCM more accessible to many people to learn. This is a beautiful thing. The language before was local and school-specific terms. After standardization, there's shared terminology and patterns. That's crucial because you need to be able to communicate from practitioner to practitioner. So these are all great things of standardization of TCM. The authority was reputation plus lineage. After standardization, licensing, and approved institutions. This is one reason why you may not be getting the results from TCM that you want. Because before the standardization, reputation and lineage, in order to have a reputation, you have to actually have results. If you don't have results, you're not going to get a good reputation. This is why a reputation is so important. This was before standardization. After standardization, they just made it into a licensing thing. And if you graduated, I see this in Asia quite a bit. Oh, you graduated from this university? That means you must be good. Actually, no. I was in Taiwan, took my dad to the hospital. He had surgery, and I took him to all these specialists, and they had graduated from these famous universities. But when I spoke to them, they weren't good physicians. They weren't even knowledgeable. I knew more than they did. I had to help them do their job. That is what happens with standardization. So just because someone graduated from a well-known school does not mean they're a good doctor, does not mean they know how to practice, they know how to produce results. It just means they were smart enough to pass all their tests and get good grades and get a medical degree or get a TCM degree. So that's the downside of standardization, because before, it was your reputation. If you could not fix people's problem, you wouldn't be in business that long. Just imagine that. If all the hospitals, if they were paid only based on the results they produced, most of them would collapse and die. I'm just talking about hospitals. What about other physicians? So standardization helped those institutions make money without helping people. We're helping people very little and still get paid a lot of money. So that's the downside. That's why it hurts the public with that. But we need the safety. I understand the opposite, right? We need the safety. How do you know if this one person, if they're not licensed and they're not from this university, or they didn't go to university for their education, for their medical school, how do you know they know what they're doing? I understand the safety of that, right? There's just give and take. I'm just presenting the facts. I'm not telling you what's right or wrong. Care setting. The care used to be, before standardization, private community practice. Now it's in hospitals. Like in China, it's all over hospitals. TCM is in all hospitals, right? Research before standardization was clinical experience and classical text. Now it's in laboratories, journals, and trials. Again, here's pros and cons to this. Before, it was real life patients, real people living their real lives. That was the clinical experience. Now it's, oh, we take people out of their normal life, put them in a controlled setting. A controlled setting is basically a setting that is not normal to them, but it's controlled. And then they do all these tests and trials and so forth. That is dictating medicine right now. And I don't understand why the public is not just getting pissed off at this, because you are never in a controlled environment when you live your daily life. Real research should be done with people living their daily life, with the daily stresses, that go on to the life, because when you're in a controlled environment, you're prohibited to do certain things temporarily. You don't have to worry about your job, other stress, people nagging you and all that stuff, because you're in a controlled environment. You're in an environment that is fake. I don't understand why the public listens to that type of research so much. That's my a little opinion, okay? So standardization changed how TCM was taught, practiced, and researched. But did those changes actually affect the results people get from TCM today? Stay tuned for part 2, because that's exactly what we're going to break down.